Okay, so I know it's been a little while since there's been a podcast, so I feel like I'd like to do this one solo tonight, talking about a very interesting topic. We talk about cholesterol a lot. We talk a lot about a lot of myths too, with a carnivore, animal based, ketogenic, and low carb approach. So, just wanted to share with you some information, some meals, some footage of some meals, and then some of the other things that I do for exercise as well. Some of the things I've been able to get out and do this summer, and some of the outdoor things that I think might be a little interesting for you too. So one of the things I want to talk about is the myths of cholesterol, which I'm going to show you some of the meals that I prepared for myself over the summer. Again, switching to leaner cuts of red meat, having some bacon and eggs in there, a few days. Intermittent fasting, that always worked really good too. But all those things led to tremendous increases in strength. I don't know what approach you should exactly use. I'm just here to kind of help guide you guys, maybe give you some different ideas, maybe some different recipes too to help. But let's get into some of these myths that are crazy that a lot of people talk about when related to cholesterol. Now, this is from the Weston A. Price Foundation for Wise Traditions in Farming and the Healing Arts. Excuse me. Okay. So, myth number one, people with high cholesterol are more prone to heart attacks. Myth. Uh, Truth is, young and middle-aged men with cholesterol levels over 350 are slightly more at risk for heart attacks. Those who have high cholesterol levels just below 350 are at no greater risk than those whose cholesterol is very low. For elderly men and for women of all ages, high cholesterol is associated with a longer lifespan. So you can also look at, population. I believe it was in Hong Kong. They have the highest consumption of red meat on the earth, and I believe the average life expectancy is in the high 80s compared to United States, which is in high 70s. So that's pretty good. I mean, here's another common one too. Cholesterol and saturated fat clog arteries. Myth. Truth is, there's very little cholesterol or saturated fat in the arterial plaque or clogs. Most of the material is of a calcium deposit akin to lime, and most of the fatty acids are unsaturated. Okay. So again, think about that when you're eating a lot of bacon and eggs and red meat. Just remember how good it's going to be for you. Let's see. Let's pick one more here to look at too. Okay, here we go. Myth. Eating saturated fat and cholesterol-rich foods will cause cholesterol levels to rise and make people more susceptible to heart disease. So I'm sure you've heard all that before. Red meat, eggs, bacon, it's going to cause heart disease. Truth is, many studies show no relationship between diet and cholesterol levels. There's no evidence that saturated fat and cholesterol-rich food contribute to heart disease. As Americans have cut back on their saturated fat and cholesterol-rich foods, the rates of heart disease have gone up. So, yes, there are studies on that. Yes, it's very important for you to get your cholesterol levels checked, which, I definitely would advise, with your physician. But what I will say is that look at all the real life stories. Look at, tribal populations. Look at the Eskimos, the Inuits, the Maasai, very animal-based foods built around their diets. And look at how strong they are and how athletic they look too. So it has to tell you that something's working in there. So again, sharing with you some of the foods that I eat, some of the exercises that I do, and some of the outdoor adventure fun that I've taken interest in a little bit more um, this summer. And I think it's very important to be outside. I know the past couple months you may have been inside, maybe working more, or maybe your gym was closed and you were restricted to work out at home. And that's one of the other things, and some of the services that I offer as well, is showing people how they can build, their own home setup if they have the appropriate space for that, in making and building a home gym. But one of the things I wanted to say is you can develop certain skills by getting out more and getting in the woods and getting around nature. For example, you'll see at the end, I've caught some pretty nice record smallmouth this year. This has probably been the best year for smallmouth fishing here in this area of Pennsylvania. Not going to tell you exactly where. If you want to find out, anybody's invited to come along, but can't tell you where. Okay, that's a secret. Got a lot of secret spots. Can't give those away. So you'll have to find out if you tag along, or find out for yourself as well. But when you're out there, you develop an intuition of knowing, how to trust your gut feeling, saying that, over there by that wood pile, that looks a little bit deeper, and that spot looks really good too. And you can't develop these gut feelings just by sitting at home, sitting in front of the TV, or, a computer. So, that's something I'm passionate about too, and hope that I can share that with you guys. So feel free to comment, share, click the links below. If you have any questions, please let me know. Get out, hunt, fish for your food, eat animal-based food, exercise, keep moving. Okay, it's very important to do that. Stay healthy. Okay, and again, if you feel like this podcast has helped you, a family member, or friend, please share this with them. Alright, so showing you some of the cholesterol-based foods that I do eat. Once again, cholesterol is good for your body. Remembering some of the important points that I mentioned in previous podcasts too, about the benefits of cholesterol, making sex hormones, testosterone, estrogen, mixing a little bit of bone broth and organic chicken broth there. I don't know what that was, but one of the other things I wanted to mention too is that when you're tracking, intake, and you are looking for more of a carnivore approach, Base it off of pounds per day. Don't restrict yourself to a certain macronutrient gram or kilograms. Go based off of pounds per day. So typically some people start off 1 or maybe 2 pounds of beef a day. I like to mix in some bacon and eggs here and there. Now this shot was earlier in May. I was getting ready for a show before it got canceled. Also vacation too, so sitting a little bit heavier here, about probably 193, 195 pounds. I believe that's a 70-pound dumbbell row. Just really focusing on the contraction. Probably moving a little too quick. I don't know if that was more of a warm-up set or not. But trying to do what you can, during the quarantine too. So this workout is actually at my parents' house. They have a pretty nice setup in their basement. So using some things that I used when I was a skinny high school kid, from 140 pounds as a senior. But a lot of that equipment helped me, grow once getting into bodybuilding, and still, is good use, whenever I head over there for a workout too. Finding anything that we can do here, for pull-ups, trying to stimulate back and bicep growth too, and then also farmer carries. I believe this was a very, very hot day, probably about 100 degrees. Wanting to burn some extra calories here on this day, so used cardio under load as a method for cardio on that day. I still will do some steady state cardio as well when it does get time. As you can kind of see, I am going a little bit further down the road there, so right underneath the bottom of my car, I'm starting to turn around. So I believe this was a 50-pound walk. I'm sorry, not 50 pounds, 50-yard walk with 65s or 70s. Can't remember exactly what this was, but again, this workout was back in June. Again, I just wanted to share some things that I do in my workout. I do mainly follow, like when I'm actually in the gym, the Dorian Yates blood and guts high intensity training philosophy. The whole point of that is to get in and get out and get on with the rest of your life, and don't worry about overtraining. I think it's very easy to overtrain, especially if you're a natural athlete. Not taking any gear, not taking any anabolic drugs. And if you don't, I always say, what's the best way you can do it? Hormonally, through the diet. And an approach I follow is the Dr. Mauro Di Pasquale. I believe he was a Canadian powerlifter back in the 70s in the Olympics. And his was called the metabolic diet, or the anabolic diet, where you eat, I believe it was 5 to 6 days of higher fats, through mainly based around animal-based foods. And then, around your workout days, you specifically and strategically time your carbohydrate intake, using it as a supplement. Benefits of it are increased strength, a lot. I've noticed that over the past year. Increased lean body mass, and minimal body fat gain. So wrapping up, I believe this was the warm-up. Sorry if this is a little out of order, but I believe I was doing a little bit more of a warm-up here with the agility ladder. I like to do some of this stuff too. A lot of it's fun. Kind of breaks up the training too. So doing some different speed drills here. And I use these speed drills also to work with some of the athletes that I work with. One of the athletes I work with is a triathlon athlete, and I believe he's going to be 68 or 69 this year and still going strong. I believe he was ranked top 40, and I don't know if it was the country or the world, but definitely excellent job on his part. And we do some of this stuff too to help with his running economy too, because we know how important biomechanics can be, you know, even in those long endurance races too. One of the other things I wanted to say is that on a carnivore and high fat approach, you know, when you do this type of cardio, you don't get fatigued as much. I believe here I'm finishing off with some farmer's walks. This was a really nice day out. Really nice day to get outside. And I kind of consider this a core movement, believe it or not. Is it a smallmouth? Yeah. Isn't? I don't think this is as big, but